Life happens fast. And in an instant, disaster could strike. When the choices you make mean the difference between life and death, what would you do?
We're going down, we're going down!
Put yourself to the test and see if you have what it takes to stay alive. Would you do or die? Skydiving is not a sport for the faint of heart. Even though statistically, it's much safer than driving a car, fatal accidents do occur every year. Senior daredevil Laverne Everett has no idea she's in danger of becoming one of them.
Whose idea was all this?
Not hers. I'm real excited.
For her 80th birthday, Laverne is fulfilling her lifelong dream of doing a tandem jump. And you're taking the plunge too. At 13,000 feet, the pair barrel roll out of the plane. As the tandem instructor deploys a small pilot chute called a drogue. It looks like a picture-perfect jump. But when the cameraman moves in, it's a scene of unimaginable terror. Laverne is hanging half out of her harness, 2 miles above the ground. Her upper body straps have slipped down around her shoulders, and her shirt has flown up around her eyes. She's flying blind. And the only things keeping her from plummeting to her death are her knees wrapped loosely around the straps and her partner's shaky grip. He's got his hands full. Put yourself in Laverne's harness. It's up to you to save yourself. What would you do? A. Get to your partner's ripcord and pull the main chute. B. Spread your arms like an eagle to create wind resistance. Or C. Grab your shins and hang on for a wild ride. Here's what you should consider. You're in a free fall, thousands of feet above the earth, and slipping out of your harness. Your tandem instructor has just deployed the drogue chute, slowing your descent from 170 miles per hour to about 120. But that still means you're falling at a rate of 170 feet per second. That's nearly the length of a 20-story building in the time it takes to sneeze. At this rate, you'll hit the ground in less than a minute. It's flight or fight. Make your choice. A. B. Or C. Choose wisely. So, what would you do? With the ground rapidly approaching, you could try to buy time by getting to your partner's ripcord and pulling the main chute to slow you down. After all, how can slowing down be a bad thing when you're hurtling towards the earth as fast as a bullet train? Once that canopy pops open, you suddenly go from 120 miles per hour to just 18. The force of such a rapid deceleration alone can be up to 4 Gs. That's more than an astronaut experiences at takeoff. And way more than enough to jerk you right out of your harness. Try to pull your chute now and lose your safety net altogether. If you want to slow down, you might be tempted to spread your arms like an eagle to create more wind resistance. As soon as you let go, you're relying only on your legs to keep you locked in. This may work for a trapeze artist, but they don't have to contend with Category 3 hurricane force winds. Spreading your arms will create more wind resistance, but it could also put you in a deadly spiral. In an airplane, if a disturbance such as turbulence causes one wing to drop, the aircraft will pitch in the direction of the downward-facing wing. But airplanes have dynamic stabilizers to correct the imbalance. You don't. If your arms are spread out and the rushing wind forces one of them to drop below the other, you could go into an uncontrollable rotation that will corkscrew you right out of your harness. Try to take flight, and you're en route for a crash landing. So what should you do? If you want to survive this perilous plunge, your best bet is to grab your shins and hold on tight. Knowing you can't pull the main chute until you're secure enough to absorb the G-forces, your only option is to create the strongest possible hold. Picture your body as one big C-clamp. Grabbing for your shins, or really anything below the waist, will close that C and keep you wrapped around your loose harness. For Laverne, getting into this secure position gives her instructor enough confidence to pull the main chute. Thankfully, she survives the initial jolt, and in minutes, she's back on terra firma. Shaken, but still alive to celebrate her unforgettable birthday. From trouble in the sky to hell on wheels, get ready, because we're putting your skills to the test once again. Nearly 200,000 bikers end up in the ER every year. And since 2001, there have been an estimated 53,000 fatalities linked to motorcycle accidents in the U.S. alone. Early September in Logan, Utah. A university student weaves through morning traffic when suddenly a large sedan turns into his lane. Traveling over 40 miles per hour, his momentum carries him forward. His bike explodes on impact. And now, he's wedged beneath nearly 3,700 pounds of burning metal. Fully conscious, but trapped. There's nothing more he can do. Now put yourself in the shoes of one of the first on the scene. With the man's life in your hands, what would you do? It's a flaming wreck. A motorcycle burns out of control beneath a smoking sedan. And it's even deadlier than it looks. Moments ago, the motorcyclist was cut off by another driver. Now, he's trapped beneath almost 2 tons of flaming wreckage. His body is perilously close to the flames, and his clothes begin to smolder. Put yourself in the shoes of one of the first on the scene. You need to act fast, or the biker will die. What would you do? A. Gather bystanders to lift the car and pull him to safety. B. Use your vehicle to push the burning motorcycle away from the victim. Or C. Jump in the driver's seat of the smoking car and slowly reverse. Here's what you should consider. The motorcyclist is trapped under a nearly 2-ton sedan, just inches from gas-fed flames. with temperatures that can reach 1,700 degrees. That's as hot as molten lava. Inside the car's front bumper are pressurized gas-filled shock absorbers. As heat from the fire causes the gas inside these cylinders to expand, the pressure builds until finally they explode, turning the front end of the car into deadly shrapnel. But for the motorcyclist, the bigger danger may be what firefighters refer to as the breath from hell. Lethal fumes produced when modern-day synthetic materials burn. High concentrations of these toxic gases can claim a life within minutes. There's no time to waste. It's do or die. Make your choice. A, B, or C. So, what would you do? With the fire spreading fast, your instincts might be to choose the quickest option available, driving the car off the victim. But with no way of seeing what position he's in, you could end up rolling the heavy car over his body. In addition, those same toxic fumes that may be seeping under the vehicle are also filling the cab. And if you can't breathe, you can't help. If you chose to jump in the driver's seat and slowly back it off the victim, you could be heading for a dead end. With the flames growing more intense, you might choose to use your vehicle to push the burning motorcycle away from the victim. But inside the bumper, the gas-filled shock absorbers have been superheated and are ready to blow. So if you're at the front of the car, you're right in the blast zone. Firefighters are taught to always approach the front and back of a burning car at 45-degree angles for just this reason. But even if you're lucky enough not to get hit by flying shrapnel, there's no guarantee you'll be able to untangle the burning bike. And trying to push it with your own car only puts your vehicle at risk of catching fire. If you chose to move the burning bike out of the way, it may be the last move you ever make. So what should you do? While the safest, most ideal course of action is to wait for first responders, in this case, that's not an option. This biker needs help now. If you want to keep him from burning alive, the best thing to do is lift the car and drag him away from the blazing inferno. First, gather as many people as you can and approach the broadside of the vehicle. Next, bending at the knees, grab the car's undercarriage and lift. Raising a 3,700-pound car may seem like an impossible task, but technically, you only need to raise half. In this case, it takes 13 people to tilt half the car off the ground, each of them holding roughly 140 pounds, or nearly the weight of 3 5-gallon water jugs. Usually, you want to move an accident victim as little as possible. But here, getting him out from under the combustible car is paramount. Moments later, police extinguish the blaze. And not long after that, paramedics are on the scene to save the motorcyclist's life. Thanks to the quick action of bystanders, he survives. Gather bystanders, lift the car, and pull the victim to safety. That's what you do if you don't want him to die. You put yourself in harm's way and saved a life. Now it's time to cool down with a journey into the deep blue sea. A dark and mysterious underwater realm off the coast of British Columbia. A place where the sun's rays barely reach the ocean floor. And if you're on the prowl for an ocean floor giant, this is where you come. Just make sure the massive beast you seek doesn't also have its eyes set on you. "80 feet below the surface of the North Pacific, the frigid home of oversized fauna and mysterious sea creatures. The perfect place for naturalist Doug Pemberton and his diving partner to film the elusive inhabitants of this underwater kingdom. On this dive, they're hoping to get up close and personal with one animal in particular, the giant Pacific octopus. And it's not long before Doug finds what he's looking for. The seemingly timid animal quickly retreats into its rocky den. So Doug moves in for a closer look. Big mistake. Doug begins to panic as the giant octopus tightens its grip. The more he struggles to break free, the more entangled he becomes. What's worse, the octopus has hold of his breathing regulator. Now, wrap yourself in these tentacles and see if you have what it takes to survive. What would you do? A. Use brute strength to pull off the arms. B. Fight back and pinch the octopus's suckers. Or C. Drop your weight belt and head for the surface. Here's what you should consider. You're on a deep-sea dive, 80 feet down, and caught in the death grip of a giant Pacific octopus. The most intelligent of all invertebrates. It has the brains to solve complex problems, and the brawn to snap a shark's spine in two. Every one of the 2,200 suction cups on its arms contains thousands of chemical receptors, making them sensitive to both touch and taste. They're also made of pure muscle, enabling each sucker to create an airtight seal around whatever they clamp down on. Right now, they're clamped down on your breathing regulator. You have fewer choices than the octopus has arms, and only one is correct. Make your choice. A. B. Or C. Choose wisely. So, what would you do? If you think you can muscle your way to safety, you could use brute strength and try to pull off the octopus's arms. But who's the strong man in this competition? Each of the octopus's individual suction cups can lift 35 pounds. The octopus wrapped around your head has nearly 300 on each arm. Even if you do somehow manage to get one arm off, the octopus has 7 more waiting to take its place. Try to outmuscle this mollusk, and you could be locked in death's embrace. If outpowering the octopus isn't the answer, you could drop your weight belt and try to head for the surface. Most divers go down with 30 pounds of lead or less on their belt to counteract any buoyancy caused by the air trapped in the cells of their wetsuit. The octopus attached to your head weighs nearly 40 pounds. So even if you lose the belt, you'd still be sunk. And there's something else to consider. The giant octopus can use its back two arms to anchor itself in place. Once that happens, it can resist a pull more than 100 times its own weight. In this case, roughly 4,000 pounds. So unless you can deadlift a rhinoceros, you're not going anywhere. So what should you do? If you want to escape this octopus's killer grip, the thing to do is pinch its suckers. Then gently pull away its arms. Pinching its sensitive suckers will not only change their shape, breaking the seal of their outer rim, but will also trigger the animal's pain receptors. If you were prey, the octopus might ignore this signal and keep fighting. But the intelligent Pacific octopus has two extremely advanced eyes, similar to those of a human. It can clearly see that you're not food. In Doug's case, following these simple steps was enough to release the animal's vicious hold.